On one machine, it would take more than a year to render this, so.
There was a time where I just thought it may just not happen at all, like the actual technology will not come through, the shots would not render.
Going from tens of gigabytes to tens of terabytes and tens of render servers to thousands of render servers. It's only 3.5 years since Matrix 1 was out.
A different interpretation with what we can do now and how the brothers wanted to take the story forward.
The scale of this one is just so much bigger. The whole sequences are much longer, there's more effect shots. There's these huge, self-contained, totally virtual shots.
It's about creating what we call virtual cinematography, things that you could not film.
Oh, that was a special moment right there, where we all were at our best. Even when we were at our worst, we were at our best.
It's been almost 4 years from pre-production to post. We look forward to catch up on some sleep.
It was a multinational effort, companies on 3 different continents working literally 24 hours a day. There's visual effects happening somewhere in the world.
We have all the visual effects shots within the Matrix world, which is about 1,200 shots. Kung fu, wire work, a lot of compositing, and then the synthetic human stuff. And then all the visual effects work in the real world, which is essentially 800 full CG shots.
It's just been a really excellent collaborative movie-making experience.
Here we go.
I love the material that Giant Killer Robots did.
The shots that we started working on were the Zion temple shots, which involved creating this gigantic cave underground below Zion where a lot of people congregate. But we needed to extend the set and make it feel much larger and add 10 to 20, 30 times more people than there were there. What we did is we shot about 50 different people dancing and standing and cheering, doing all sorts of different actions in front of a blue screen. And then we separated them all out and created a lot of little cards of people that we could distribute throughout the space.
They're kind of like game models. They're pretty low resolution. You can see when you get close to them, they get kind of chunky. And then when you pull back, they start to hold up a little bit more like real humans. When we rig them with simple skeletons so that any animation that we create on one character can be applied to another character.
We started with the original effect from the first film, and there's these sort of veins that grow over his body, and the veins sort of make his body melt away and go into the phone. But on this one, they wanted the veins to actually crack open and reveal sort of the data structure on the inside of their body. So we came up with this idea of the grid and the data blips on the inside from just drawing all sorts of different variations of what that grid may look like.
We're using this firm, BUF, B-U-F, from Paris. I gave them the assignment of code. Larry and Andy wanted to make a point that the code was like the fabric of life in the Matrix and that you could keep exponentially going into the detail.
How many people get asked to visualize an orgasm in code? That laid the groundwork for fascinating design discussions with men and women alike in the workplace about how to actually graphically depict the sensations, the sort of cyclical builds of vibrational energy. The way that BUF likes to work, they like getting photographic source material from which they dimensionalize and turn to graphics. So on that particular shoot, we had a motion control system that was doing repeat passes delicately, programmably through her legs. Luckily, the actress had a really great sense of humor.
Back a little bit.
And we had to do many different takes because BUF needed lighting effects happening upon the inner thighs of the actress. We did many of those passes and, in fact, had the costume department, Kim Barrett, make special aluminum underwear for the actress so that we could get a really sonic light at the end of the tunnel.
The city itself is another machination of Jeff Darrow and Larry and Andy's
imagination.
My name's Craig Hayes. I was visual effects supervisor for Tippett Studio. For the work that we did on Matrix 3 Revolutions, which was primarily for the Machine City work, which was exciting for us because it's a big chunk of work, you know.
Question is, like, let's say if we have, you know, ridges and different elevation changes.
Yeah.
And we cluster.
They're able to access really complex digital effects of all sorts. They understand character and character animation better than almost anybody in the industry.
Here is the chasm that where the Logos is going to come out of.
Right.
The power towers in the background. So these are all the fetus fields.
It's always been kind of referred to as like a coral reef or some kind of a foreign kind of a landscape that's just teeming with life. We haven't had a tidal kind of movement. Like within the city itself, the buildings would be swaying and moving. Nothing was really static within the city. There was all these flocks of characters teeming about.
I tried to come up with an aesthetic that wasn't an aesthetic that we would recognize but was an aesthetic. I don't know if I succeeded, but that was the whole idea.
Some of the shots we started with were the fetus field reveal shots, you know, the power towers and just coming up over the edge. And just because of the sheer magnitude, you know, just there's tens of thousands of these fetus stocks. So getting some of those renders through was really a bear.
It was a collaboration, without a doubt. We really felt like, yeah, these guys understand this world and we are in good hands the whole way.
What I did like about this, the latter part, was this stuff we start to see on the horizon. So I think that stuff is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where we're going.
We started up here about 2.5 years ago, and we had 6 people and 3 laptops. And now we've got, you know, about 300 people, 300 graphics workstations.
Check it out.
We've got a render farm of over 2,000 processors, 80 terabytes of online storage for shots, and about 5 terabytes of RAM in the facilities.
I think we're one of the biggest facilities in terms of raw firepower there is in the world right now. We've built tons and tons of proprietary software.
It's been a really long haul, and we've only just got there now, just in time for the end of the movies. And now with Siege, more than doubled our capacity in terms of render and disk storage.
So it goes 3s, then 5s, and then 7. To really do Jeff's work to the detail that he creates is an extreme undertaking.
Everything is massive and epic, and 250,000 sentinels and millions of machine creatures.
The rules that we have to play with in this sequence are all real-world physics. The challenge of it is that we have no real reference because these machines don't exist.
There was one thing that whenever we came in and we did, and that was the idea that there would be sort of different types of sentinels, almost like in an ant nest.
Each sentinel has 15 tentacles and 10 underarms and 10 arms or claws, and then 32 sewing needles and 6 animatable eyes. Until you start doing all of its 15-legged performance, you don't really know how much screen space the character takes up.
Because of the way they move, because of the squid-like nature and the flowing nature of the tentacles and the fact that they fly, people thought that they were underwater. And so we're trying to make this creature fly and look fluid and at the same time make it clear that no, he's not underwater. You can get all kinds of performances out of them.
We established about 15,000 sentinels at any one time. Well, that's a pretty phenomenal number of creatures to sort of keep track of, animate, render, light, make look like every one of them is doing the right thing.
It's just a memory hog in terms of rendering.
All the different elements that will be in a shot, the dock, the characters, the platforms, the subfloor, all that sort of stuff, all have to be, you know, brought into the same world and make it look real.
The bar continuously gets raised. Every huge film that comes out that involves a lot of complex effects. With that comes, you know, certain things, technical aesthetic, that you're always challenged to achieve and to surpass.
It actually looks like Morpheus, doesn't it? It's kind of cool.
The new bullet time. In terms of technology, this is the most important stuff.
We call that virtual cinematography, meaning that there's not a real camera. It's all computer generated.
A virtual shot means everything in the frame is computer graphics, you know, CG, Neo Smith's background, everything. In Reloaded and Revolutions, you know, these characters have absolutely ascended to a new plane. And so you need these kinds of tools to pull that off.
The first thing we need is a set. So we liaise with Owen Patterson and get a set design from his department and put that into the computer. I'm very proud of the virtual environments that we created. The cities for Trinity Saves and Trinity Falls look stunning.
Specific buildings in Sydney have been selected to be the environment.
It doesn't involve us completely making synthetic creations in the computer. We still need a real set, real lighting, and real photography to get it to work.
It's a whole procedure to shoot still photographs of subjects like buildings and other things, and then project the textures that you get from the stills back onto 3D forms in a computer 3D animation environment.
We then place pre-visualization versions of Keanu, Hugo, or Carrie Ann, and allow animators to rough out blocking to really get a better feeling for the sequences moving. The next thing that we need to do is actually start thinking about doing the shots for real.
That is a project unto itself, the human being, the perfect Neo, the perfect Agent Smith, expressions changing, fabric, hair, the whole thing.
Motion capture is a way of allowing a real actor to perform and getting that performance onto a digital body inside the computer. Because our characters are superhuman. You can't do everything as motion capture, but if we take the awesome work that can be done in the motion capture rig, we can extend it with hand animation.
His legs run back and forth instead of back, recover, boom.
Yeah.
Okay, neutral.
We as humans really can read another person's face easily. We felt that we could not produce realistic-looking human faces by purely having an animator physically animates each of the characters in the scene.
We decided to build this system, which we call Universal Capture System, which consists of high-definition cameras and arranged around that actor's face. The UCAP process is a proprietary process that we developed here to capture an actor's facial expressions and bring that into a digital realm.
So the trick here is to not have anyone know that they're virtual humans. That is the highest bar to jump over. The scene really has a blend of all different types of techniques. There's virtual backgrounds, virtual city. There's glistening CG glass, bullet wakes and all of that stuff.
In the first film, they sort of came out as discs, and they just kind of hung out as discs. In this shot, and in all these shots where wakes occur, there's a kind of pulsing system where it's kind of like a wave that kind of like the discs pulse in and out.
Biggest sequence that I've had involvement with is the Burly Brawl. It's really one of the first times we have like full frame CG humans and lots of them. The other thing we wanted to do is come up with camera moves that we've never really seen in movies.
Our goal was to sample what they've done and recreate it as close as possible to the real thing, but just give them the ability to move the camera like crazy. You can basically sit there and think up any shot within your own mind and recreate it in CG, which is the beauty of it. You're not limited by a camera rig, a crew. It can all happen within a computer.
That was one of our defining anime-esque action beats.
A lot of things that he tries to do in his everyday performance, I just tried to incorporate that into his movements. He's not too worried about this fire though, because he is Neo. He could probably turn around and control it if he wanted to. Then I assigned this UCAP performance. I've got it going so it kind of matches his movements and punches, and his teeth start gritting as he's going down the hall.
This shot started out with the first Matrix movie had the elevator lobby. A combination of fire, but with a very liquid feel, but also with sort of a semi-intelligent behavior.
This feeling of this fire crashing down and turning corners, how the flames would hit and then open up into the claw that kind of reaches forward and just wraps around Neo.
Great examples of what you can do with virtual cinema technology, because it's a subconscious event, it's a fantasy event, but it has that hyper-realism.
To have someone say, how did they shoot that would be like, it's a pretty good compliment, I think.
And so we were learning all the time. It's like people have never done these shots before. Technology is at a place right now, and rendering is at a place, and all the advances that we've had in computers that allow us to do these kind of shots.
Look at this guy here. He does this all day. Isn't that brilliant?